I've been here for 36 years. Came here in April of 1974. I was in the overburden part of this operation, stripping the topsoils, and I've come full circle because now I'm back reclaiming the land and putting the trees back, so it's kind of neat.
Pond 1 was actually constructed in 1965-1966 and started operations in 1967. Initially, this was the only pond that Suncor had to place tailings, and if it wasn't for Pond 1, they wouldn't have been able to operate.
We started closure operations in earnest in 2007, and what we've been doing with the pond is removing this mature fine tails. The MFT, depending on how old it is, can be quite problematic to pull out. In some cases it will flow like water, but in other cases it'll set up almost like a jello. Imagine a giant pool of jello that we're trying to get all to move towards a single point to pump it out. So the way we have to do that is we need to remove a certain amount out and then place sand in behind it so that it pushes that jello-like material towards where we're pumping it out. Well, what you're looking at here is the last of the tailings operations on Pond 1. Off to my left, we've got the dredges running, and what they're doing is they're pulling the MFT out of the pond and they're pumping it and relocating it to a pond that's better suited for the long-term storage and treatment than this pond. And what we've got in behind us is one of the tailings lines that's replacing that MFT with the clean sand that we're standing on everywhere. So once we have the sand down, our next stage is we begin to place the topsoil back on top of the sand. And we have a whole reclamation team that works on making sure that in the end, when we plant the trees in there and the animals and plants do return, that the ground is capable of supporting them in perpetuity. And the way you do that is when we're placing the topsoil back, we make sure there's some elevation. So you get what are called hummocks and swales. They're basically small hills and little valleys for the water to flow. So the tops of the hills will be dry and will allow the large trees to grow, and the bottom of the hills and the swales will have water in them, so you get little marsh plants and frogs and those types of things. The important point to remember is all the material that we're putting back into these areas was here to begin with. So the sand is from this area. We just mined it out, removed the bitumen, and we're putting it back. The topsoil was here, so we've stored it for a while, and now we're putting it back so it can begin to generate new life again. The biggest challenge we have working on any of these tailings areas is really getting ourselves a landscape that's strong enough to support whatever we're working on. So this is what happens when you've got too much water in your sand. So all of our technology developments and all the advances that we're working on are towards accelerating that time to get that stable landscape and make it as short a time between when we disturb the ground to when we're able to plant a tree back on it again.
All right, does everyone want to grab a shovel?
Today is our employee tree planting event, so it's an opportunity for all the employees at different areas at Suncor to come out and be a part of reclamation on Pond 1. Pond 1 will have 600,000 trees and shrubs planted. It's huge for me. I've been watching all of the activity for years, just waiting to get a chance to do my work here, and this is like the icing on the cake, and we're all very happy and excited and proud of the work we've done here.
Well, the last time we were out here, I was wearing a hard hat, safety vest, and glasses, and that was because we were in an operating mine out on a tailings pond. Now that we've finished the surface closure here and planted on the trees, we're actually standing in something more like a park. We no longer need PPE out here.
2 years ago, this was all water, and it makes me feel really good that we're standing today here on a solid surface. What we're looking at today is we're actually looking at a field of oats and barley, and amongst the oats and barley we actually have 600,000 trees and shrubs planted. The oats and barley are used as a nurse crop to protect the young seedlings for about a year. They provide rooting structure and they provide shade for the young saplings.
What you'll see spaced across the pond here is what's known as snags. And snags are really roosts for a variety of birds, but primarily for the raptors. A bird, especially a raptor, won't come back to an area that's just a flat plain. So what we do is we put these snags up. They give a place for the birds to roost, and the ones with the roots up in the air give a place for the birds to build their nests.
There is a plan, and indeed what the plan does is it collects all the water from essentially the 200 hectares that is Old Pond 1, and it takes that water into a wetland area that we designed from the beginning. The water is collecting where it needs to be collected. It is a controlled process, and in fact we see it, of course, sustainable.
One of the things that I'm looking forward to in the next few years is seeing the wildlife return to the pond with all the habitat enhancement techniques that we have used. We expect to see raptors and foxes and coyotes, and we're already seeing deer utilizing the area, and I think that's going to be a pretty exciting thing to see.
We've gone out here, we've planted 40 different species of trees, we've planted 600,000, we know what types they were, planted the oats and the barley, and it's growing. And then to walk out here and find one small mushroom that we never planted, we never planned, it just came in and started growing, is amazing. It's symbolic of the fact that Mother Nature's going to move back in here. She's going to claim this back for herself and for the animals and for all the different plants. So I think it's really cool. It's really the first concrete proof that we mean what we say when we say sustainability is important to Suncor, and that we will do whatever's required to make sure we meet those objectives.
What happens now on the pond is we go to a monitoring phase. All the work is basically done. Now what we need to do is make sure that everything does what we expect it to do.
Everybody that drives by here has had a part in making sure this has been a success. And just from talking to some of the people throughout the company, you can see the pride everybody feels when they're driving down a road beside what used to be a tailings pond and is now a forest with deers on it.
It's totally awesome now, showing people that certain things can be done. You can have a look at it now and it looks awesome and can be done, and we're going to do more of it.
It's not very often in a career that you get the chance to be involved in something that really is a worldwide achievement.
I'm extremely proud of the work that all of my team accomplished in getting this pond to the state it is today.
Everybody from not only the designers and the management group and our supervisors, but the guys on the dozers and the guys in the dredges cared about what the end product would look like.
Being able to demonstrate to people that we're more than just talk about reclamation. You know, the comments that I get when we take people out on this pond are just fantastic. You know, we get, so why aren't you telling more people about this, eh? They're just so impressed. It makes me feel good knowing that we can take our disturbed lands from mining and put them back in a natural, productive form. Eventually, we'll apply for reclamation certification of this area and hand it back to the province of Alberta and the people of Alberta. It's got to be the greatest thing that I've done in my career, or been involved with in my career. It's been a big team that we've been part of, but yeah, I'm proud.